Howdy, mates. How are we doing? Here's a part 2 video over at the Bach Tower Gardens, and I finally now have a chance to show you guys a piece of the Carillon Tower. One of the most dominant features found at the Tower Gardens. So, for the moment, I'm not close to it, but for a second part of the video, I will get closer to the building. But I just wanted to give you guys just a overview of the tower first, before I get closer to it. So, Edward Bach had this vision to incorporate a structure for the gardens. And so, he actually recruited a few different... Oh, there it is. I'll explain that in a second. So, he recruited a few different architects. One of the main ones was Milton Mederi, and he mostly specialized in sculpture. And he was well known for his architectural designs. He was an artist. Which, to be honest with you, when it came to any form of art, sculpture was always one of my favorite forms of art. So, you had Milton Mederi. You also had Lee Lawrie. He mostly specialized in stone sculpture. So, you could say it was those two who really came up with the design of the building and what materials were going to be used. But then you also had J.H. Allen. He was what you call the tile artist. So whatever was being laid... Oh, that was a zebra longwing. Whatever was being laid along the floor, he really helped come up with that type of design. And for another, we also had another individual whose name just left off the top of my head. He specialized in designing the metal. So if you look carefully, maybe see the door right there? I believe that is completely made out of bronze, if I'm not mistaken. Or iron, one of the two. But in essence, though, what is it that makes this tower so special? Well, when I explain the concept of a carillon, well, basically, that involves an assembly of bells. In this case, the Bach Tower has up to 60 different bells, which then comprise a total of about, 62 tons. So these bells are very dense, and they're completely made out of bronze. And they were shipped, or they were brought here all the way from, where was it? Jacksonville. So they traveled quite a decent ways just to get here. But instead of a carillon having swinging bells, the bells are actually completely stationary. And they actually have like a particular tool. I think it's called I can't remember the exact name, but it essentially beats against the bell, and that's what produces the sound that you're hearing right now. And what's so neat about it is there are a specific group of musicians that are called Carollineurs. And what they do is the bells, they're controlled by a clavier, which is a keyboard, and pedals. And they connect to each different bell. And so 60 different bells, you really got to know your music compositions. And apparently with these 60 bells, there's a range of 5 different octaves, which octaves are basically, a way that I put it is an octave usually is a sound that combines different notes. That's how I can put it. But of course, I'll clarify it in my description. But frankly, to be honest with you, looking back, I do wish that I took some of my musical craft a little more seriously, because there was a time when, I was in junior high, especially, and even going into high school, I actually knew how to play a little bit of piano, but I just never expanded upon it. And frankly, I really wish I did, because I could have then competed with my older brother. Goodness. Hold on just a second, you guys. Okay. Now I have an opportunity to get a little closer to it. So, as I mentioned, with Carillon music, there's only a handful of buildings that actually support that form of music. So it's very, what you call, scarce. And there's only a handful of musicians who actually know how to play the Carillon. So essentially, throughout this tower are different levels of storage, libraries, and even space for musicians to practice. Because they have like a separate practice room where the whole gardens doesn't necessarily have to hear. That just, oh my goodness. So the stone sculpture that you are seeing is mostly marble and creole. They're both a form of marble. So they were specifically from a quarry that was based in Georgia. So that's crazy to think, like, just how much work had to take place. I mean, it took quite a few years to build. And you figure, too, this was clear back in the 1920s. Yeah. Alright. I'm going to save this for a part 2. That way, the video doesn't have to be too long. Alright. Take care, you guys.